Today is January 9th, 2024. My name is mez-Arizola and I'm interviewing Mez-Arizola for my thesis, a Taylor's perspective on the history and cultural significance on the traje charro. We are in Austin, Texas. Thank you, Julian, for accepting this interview with me.
Of course.
And I want to start with talking a little bit about how you started playing mariachi.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how old were you? Where did you learn it? How did you learn it?
So I was living in Laredo, Texas. That's where I'm from, born and raised. And I was playing in the church choir with me and my grandma. My aunt, we would do one of the masses there. And one Sunday, this man approached my grandma to see if I wanted to play vihuela or guitar in his mariachi. So at that point, I think she said no, and I think I was like 10. And then 6th grade came along, and then the second semester of my 6th grade year is when I started playing across the border in Nuevo Laredo. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. Once I got to high school, my 8th grade year in middle school, that's when my band director figured out, he's gigging. So I started playing with high school mariachi when I was in 8th grade. And then once band started, marching band and all that stuff, I couldn't commit to the group anymore. And on top of that, the high school that I went to, Martin High School, we would gig my freshman and sophomore year, even junior year. We would gig like a professional, like the way I gig now, where I would just, we would just get out of school, and that's how we would raise funds to take charter buses for the marching band trips. So when people would be making fun of us, it's like, we're the reason that you're taking charter buses to all of our competitions. Mm-hmm. So there's a sense of pride that I developed through that. I think that was a question, right?
Yeah, that was the question. Yeah. So you said you play the vihuela?
I play. When I first started, I started with guitar. And then I learned how. Then I started playing vihuela, and then throughout the years I started playing guitarron and violin.
Mm-hmm. Does anybody in your family play mariachi, or were you the first one?
No, I was the first one.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else plays music, just me.
Mm-hmm.
But I have cousins that were in band, in orchestra, but no siguieron. No continuaron. They didn't continue.
Mm-hmm. And right now, are you a part of a mariachi group?
I am a part of a mariachi group. 3, I guess. Mariachi Capital of Austin, Texas. Leslie Reinaga y su mariachi. And Mariachi Real del Valle from Roma, Texas.
Mm-hmm. Would you consider one of them your primary group?
I think all 3 of them are my primary group, because Leslie works with my schedule, Mariachi Capital works with my schedule, and Real del Valle, I'm the first call for any big performances that they have. So I consider myself a part of the group.
So I want to talk a little bit about the traje charro and your first traje charro, like if you remember.
I do remember.
Yeah.
I remember getting fitted for it. We went across the border, and we met up with the jefe of the grupo back then. He's already since passed. His name was Manuel. And And I remember getting the traje, and I remember thinking to myself, wow, like I would never wear clothes like this tight ever in my life. But now that's all I dress in cowboy boots all the time. But I do remember that on the lapel, it had like a little embroidery up on top, kind of like, I can't remember what it was, but it went all the way around the lapel and on the sides as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like an old school way of doing it. That was my first black suit, and it still exists. It's at home in Laredo, Texas, and it just stays in the closet.
Mm-hmm. How old were you when you got it?
I was 12.
12. Okay, so it doesn't fit you anymore.
That it can fit,
Uh-huh.
but it's high water.
Oh, yeah. What about today? Where do you get your trajes?
Well, the suit that I'm currently wearing is from Mariachi Warehouse, WEAR.
Mm-hmm.
And he's out of Edinburgh, Texas. And I just got the suit because I wanted to see how they are.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have another man. Well, I tried the Mexico City one. I can't remember.
I think it was Lalo.
Lalo.
Yeah.
And you fixed it. You fixed the pants.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually got smaller since then. So it'll need some adjustments later on. And then, but my favorite one of them all that I have and that I will get more suits from him is this man que se llama Fantasma. He's from Guadalajara, and he's actually Pepe Martinez, who was the music director for Mariachi Vargas. Through Pepe Martinez's wife, this is her grand nephew. And so he does trajes for Estrella de Mexico, Mariachi Vargas, the big groups, Corona, the big groups in Guadalajara and the Jalisco area. And he's very affordable, and he works very well. And I appreciate that he'll tell me straight out, look, I have this much work. I don't know if I'll get to it in time.
Mm-hmm.
But he's very communicative, and I think that's what I like most about it.
Mm-hmm.
His lineage, of course, in the mariachi field, but more so that he's communicative.
Yeah. How did you hear about him?
So before pandemic, I was helping out a mariachi here in town. They were traveling up from San Antonio to gig here. And so I was like, look, just so I can look the same as y'all, since this is like a weekly thing, I don't want to look, odd man out. I'll just get a suit with y'all. And that was my first suit with him. And I really liked the fit. I really liked everything about it. Mm-hmm. He just knew. And he knew like the calves and the legs, the difference and all that stuff. He just knows all that, like a tailor's perspective, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about how much a traje charro costs and kind of like the range of prices and styles that they offer, depending on like if it's custom made or not?
So I'm getting one custom made for the Festival de la Isla, the Mariachi Festival. Mm-hmm. And he quoted me $550. That's mm-hmm. with the embroidery on the arms, the embroidery around the pockets, and what is this, shoulders?
And on the sleeve cap.
On the sleeve cap.
Yeah.
So he's gonna do a design that I like, and then on the legs also, I'm getting custom made botonadura mm-hmm. with my family's, my great grandfather's ¿cómo se llama? The cattle brand. Mm-hmm. And so it's gonna be a nice suit, and it's orange, mm-hmm. like burnt orange type of UT color. Yeah. But that's like $550. So what makes a suit the most expensive is obviously the material, and but also the botonadura, what that goes on the suit itself, it can be $150 difference between just, you know, pressed metal and actually actual silver that's casted. And that's the difference. This one is silver that's casted. It looks better, and you can just take it off, put it in silver cleaner, put it back on, and it just makes it the longevity of it all is way better. But when I was younger, I used to wear like $200-$300 suits, and you could tell because the botonadura would tarnish, and the suit would get these little like little fluffies.
Oh yeah, like they start pilling.
Yeah. So the material isn't that great, but now that I'm older and I appreciate it, and it's like you're a cultural ambassador every time you wear your suit, so you have to be dressed to the nines. Is that what they say? Yeah. You have to look good constantly. You don't want your suit to be dirty, or anything like that, or your boots to be dirty, because people are seeing you. That's going to be the first and last time that 9 times out of 10 that somebody will see you. So in terms of price, the material matters, and the botonadura on the side, on the legs and on the pants and the cuffs and the jacket matter. That'll definitely be the difference in price. The belt also, the hebilla, ¿cómo se llama hebilla? Hebilla, belt buckle. The belt buckle also can really jack up the price. But again, if you know how to shop for yourself, you'll understand. You'll understand what to spend it on and what not to spend it on.
Yeah, that makes sense. Can you talk a little bit about the trajes charros that are worn specifically by mariachis? Like talk a little bit about which style is the most commonly worn versus like the least commonly worn, maybe.
So the one that I'm wearing right now is pretty much the most commonly worn one. In Mexico, like they always use this. Sometimes they use 3-piece with a vest. Sometimes they won't. It just depends on how hot it is. But then you have your traditionalists that say the 3-piece suit is how you should wear your suit. It could be 1,000 degrees outside, and I've gotten heat stroke from wearing a 3-piece suit in the middle of a charreada in Edinburgh, Texas. So you have your 3-piece suit. You have there's like different modifications within the 3-piece suit. There's this one has the coat open, and then there's some that are square with like the literal square on this end, and then there's some like this that are rounded. But then that style, it really depends on the sastre itself, not on the person's body. So then there's the 3-piece traje de charro. There's a caporal suit that some people wear, and it's without botonadura. It's made famous by Pedro Fernandez, where there's like an aleton flap. They have no botonadura on the legs, and this little flap, I honestly don't know what the purpose of the flap is, but there's a flap on this.
On the outseam?
Yeah, there's a flap right here, all up and down the leg with no botonadura. And they usually wear a camisa charra, which is kind of like a tight coat or a really tight shirt. And that's the type of traje that Pedro Fernandez wears. And it'll have all this embroidery on there, like hilo de plata or de oro, and it's just really fancy, not coat suit.
Yeah.
But another option that we use here is, in Central Texas at least, we use the pants, and we use a camisola, which is like a thin shirt that's breathable, that won't kill you when clients have us performing in the sun while they're in the shade.
Mm.
I'm not salty about that.
Yeah, it just shows a lack of consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is the shirt just like a plain white shirt then?
So the shirt can be plain white. There's some people that have ordered it, and it has it's the greca, like that faux leather, or hilo bordado. So you can really do anything that you would normally do on a traje de charro on that camisola.
Mm-hmm. So I was wondering, since I made you a traje charro.
Correct.
And you have had trajes made by, I want to say professionals, but also I just mean like by people who are dedicated to this craft, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's their life's work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about the differences that you noted between like when I made your suit using a very like theatrical costume approach, or a theatrical tailoring, I should say, approach versus like a traditional like sastreria.
Well, I like the coat and the chaleco. I really like the way it sat on my body, especially behind my shoulders. I felt the adjustments that you did. I felt that it made me more like bigger. Like, I don't know if that makes any sense.
Like it made your shoulders broad.
Yeah, like it made me feel good. Like, not that this traje doesn't make me feel good, but I just got the same vibe. The pants, I thought that we couldn't fix it, but I think I mentioned it to you that they were just a tad bit short. But then again, I love the, ¿cómo se llama esto? What's this?
The flare?
The flare.
Yeah.
I like the flare to be a lot on the bottom. But that's just my personal preference. Sometimes you don't even need a lot of flare. But the flare, the bell bottom type of flare is, I like it to be more lumpy for me.
Yeah.
But that's a definitely style issue.
Yeah.
So some like this one, I think he said that the sastre doesn't make it like that, but I think this one's from Guanajuato, Albert Morales, but the guys from Guadalajara, that it comes like that, and so it's like their style, and it's totally different from Lalo. There's two contrasting styles. It's the same thing, but both trajes feel way different, and it's strange to say that when it's the same thing.
Yeah. I also wonder about like the fitting process, because it's my understanding that sastres will take your measurements, or you will send them measurements, and they'll make the suit for you, potentially without ever actually fitting it on your body, right?
Yep.
Whereas like whenever I made the suit for you, we had 3 fittings.
3 fittings, yeah. Yeah, it's strange that they're able to have that information and be able to make it without having a follow-up fitting.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
So I was wondering.
But if I may say this,
yes.
I think it's a Mexicano attitude. Va a salir. Like it's gonna happen. No pasa nada. I think it's the aspect of not doing more than needs to be done. I think that's like one of the Like I have that duality in my brain. Like the American side is like, let me triple check, double check, and the Mexican side, no, but it's fine. Don't worry about it. The Mexican part of my brain. So I think that's why the sastres only do just take the measurements.
Yeah, it shows a lot of confidence in their ability too. Like they've done it so many times that they know exactly what everything should look like and how it should fit without
Like I think they can even guess the measurements just by looking at you.
Yeah, some people can do that. I also was wondering if you've noticed if the style of the trajechado has changed at all since you first started playing versus now.
Yeah.
Or if it's remained pretty like consistent.
So I'm gonna need to look at find these pictures.
Yeah.
But I think the added little embroidery stuff for a black suit versus this type of black suit, that's changed. Back then, there used to be two-tone trajes in the same coat and pants, and the high school group that I was in, that's the type of suit we had. It was two-tone, white, and red.
Oh wow!
And this was red, and our coat was white.
I see. So the pocket detail was red. Yeah.
And I remember they didn't sell white botines, so we went to Nuevo Laredo as a class. This is how crazy it is. That's the 90s, of course. 96.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, we're gonna take a field trip on a Saturday morning with our band director to go buy boots in Nuevo Laredo.
Just go straight into Mexico.
And so we bought boots. Everybody, the whole group bought boots, brought them back, and then there was the man has since passed away, but there was a shoe shop, and I think if I remember correctly, his name was Aurelio the Shoe Doctor, and so he took the color off of the leather to make them white.
Wow.
And I don't remember how much we paid. I mean, I don't think we paid anything, but those are the things that we had to do back then to make it custom like that. Yeah. Now you can get any color botin that you want as long as you order it with time.
Yeah.
But back then it was just black and brown, no in between.
Did the school pay for your uniforms, or did
Yeah, the school paid for our uniforms. I can't remember about the botines, but the school did pay for our uniforms.
That's nice. Do you know if schools still pay for?
Schools do pay for their uniforms.
That's amazing.
I know that there's in terms of the high schools, I know that the high school I used to work at in Edinburgh ISD, Edinburgh North. So they're mirroring the band program, where every 5 to 7 years, depending on how bad the suits are, they'll get new suits. And those old suits from the varsity get passed down to the JV. But this particular director, he's smart. He gets colors that are gonna match, so he just switches out the coat. So then there's a different color. Bless you. There's a different color. Bless you. There's a different color coat to the different color pants. And so he does that for all his groups to make them, so it can look different. It makes it seem like they have a new suit, but they don't.
Yeah.
I do know Roma, every year, they get a full, brand new suit. Every year, with sombreros. That's at least $1,000 of that they're spending on each kid. Yeah. That's why Roma High School looks so good. That suit is for that kid at that particular time.
Yeah. I'm actually going to jump ahead a little bit since we're talking about schools and mariachi. Since you're as an educator in mariachi, what do you teach your students about the traje charro?
Well, I teach private lessons at Hayes. The main thing that I try to tell students, even my compañeros around all the mariachis, is that your suit has to look nice. If there's a botonadura broken, fix it. If the wire's broken, fix it. And then I show them how to do it. But they have to treat it with respect. Because again, we're cultural and bad. I'm not Mexican. I have Mexican roots. I was born here in the United States. My cultural identity is Mexican, but I'm a United States citizen. So that goes into this whole, rabbit hole of identity questions, right? But for us Tejanos, we have to make sure that our suit is nice and clean constantly. We have to make sure that the botonera is nice, and they have to respect it. We're cultural ambassadors, and we should behave as such. Right now I'm hating life because I have to grow my beard and my hair for the opera. And even though I've told them dozens of times and sent them articles that people of that time during the Baracero program in the 40s and 50s, they would still shave. The only people who would leave their mustache would be people who had money. So it's crazy to me that that I have to have this. So even your facial hair for guys matters a lot because you're representing an ideal. And I hate to say this word, but an ideal of machismo.
Yeah.
And females too, they can't just show up with their hair all fodonga, and guys too, their hair, they're on their head. They have to be combed. They have to be. I mean, you have to look like if you're going to if you're going out. And I know this. He's not mariachi, but there is a Tejano artist by the name of Ruben Ramos, and he always wears a suit when he performs. And people have asked him, well, why do you wear a suit? And his response is, they're coming to see a show. I have to look good. So that way they have this ideal of me. They're paying money. And if I were to be here in shorts and sandals, like, they wouldn't like that. That's not my vision. That's the same thing that we should have for the traje de charro. We need to be groomed. Hair-wise, for females, makeup, earrings, just everything needs to be just well-groomed because, again, cultural ambassadors.
Yeah. Since you spoke a little bit about your identity, I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit about how, and maybe you already answered this, I'm sorry if I'm asking you to reiterate this.
Go ahead.
But, what is the relationship between your identity, like specifically as a mariachi, not as a Mexican or as an American, but your identity as a mariachi and the traje charro? Like, how do these two things kind of come together to inform your identity? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So in my great-grandmother only spoke Spanish. Everybody in my family only spoke Spanish. I was raised in a block in Laredo that was purchased, and I can't believe I remember this, 1917, for $27, which was a lot of money back then. And my abuelo Juan, my bisabuelo Juan, my great-grandfather, he brought my great-grandmother, Games, to Laredo to escape the war that was happening in Mexico, because back then they were just literally going to a ranch and just kind of like what the Rinches did to settlers here or around the turn of the century, that they would go and just take over ranches and kill the owner and marry the wife, and that's your land.
Yeah.
That happened a lot. In Mexico, it was happening the same way during the Porfiriato, right? So I grew up in such a strange time that I feel more connected to my Mexican side, even Mexican culture versus American culture. My great grandmother would babysit me. There's songs that I know that people ask for. I was like, oh, and I'll just, what is the first word? And I'll know them because they were played on a record with her taking care of me. And her eldest daughter, my tia abuela, Joaquina, and the next one was Tio Beto. So this whole block, they bought it for their kids, my grandmother, her and her brothers and sisters. So every time I put on my traje, and every time I sing, I just remember my grandma. She, and I'll email you a picture. But I remember getting my first guitar and hearing her sing. I was her sous chef, so she would sing and I would try to sing with her, and I was like 6, 7 years old with a knife. And you know the abuelita knives, they're like long and like sharp, and she would sing in the kitchen, and then every time we'd go to Nuevo Laredo, I would ask her for a guitar. So it wasn't until I was 8 that she got me a guitar. And then the Guitarra Fácil books, and that's how she would look through these books, and she would see which ones of the songs that she knew, and that's how I learned how to play mariachi, essentially from her just singing while she cooked. So my identity lies with my grandma. I love her so much, and it is anytime I have a bad day or I'm having a trouble with something, I just remember why I do it. And I remember that small kitchen with the brown table and my grandma at the stove cooking. And that's why it's informed me, and being raised by all women, it's informed me to be very respectful, unlike other compañeros that I have. Not only in mariachi, but in regular school. Like when I was in college, I was like, whoa, this is all crazy. So my identity lies with my grandma, and I'm constantly trying to learn more about Mexican history, about different states where my great grandparents were from, San Luis Potosí and Monterrey, Nuevo León. I'm trying to learn more about the history from those two cities, just so I can feel them more, and it's basically just out of love that I do what I do.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm gonna start wrapping up. I just want to know if there's anything that you think people should know about mariachi or the trajechado that maybe like the general public doesn't know.
Well, there's so much. Mariachi music is just was born out of necessity, and those in 1880s, 1890s. I mean, everybody was wearing manta. essentially what jaraneros wear. You know, the I don't know how to say it in English, but the manta pants and the shirts. I mean, that was essentially the Sunday's best at the time, and that's what at least at Mariachi Vargas, that's what they brought when they came to Mexico City. And then they started adopting the hacienda, the traje de charro, that was purchased by when they became the mariachi for the police department in Mexico City. That's when they first got suits. Had it not been for that, you know, Lázaro Cárdenas being inducted president after the Porfiriato, you know, him trying to make nationalism, I guess, in a sense.
Tried to make nationalism happen.
Yeah, but in the cultural sense, he did. Yeah. You know, Amalia Hernandez Ballet Folclórico is still going strong, thanks to him. Mariachi Vargas is still going strong. But as far as mariachis, something that people don't know, we can play anything. Literally anything. Mariachis would fight for jobs, just not unlike the way it is today, where we learn different genres of music in order to please the client, right? So back then it was the same thing. Mariachi Vargas, Mariachi didn't play pasodobles. All they played was sones. This eighth note rhythms, and little by little they started incorporating, again, like the melting pot that is Mexico. They started incorporating polkas from Germany. They started incorporating chotis from Italy. They started incorporating vals, again, from Italy. Pasodobles. That's how they were able to steal back then in charreadas. There was a banda típica that would play pasodobles because it was very much a Spanish ritual. But the mariachi came and it's like, hey, we can play that. Let's play it. And now pasodobles are like a thing now. Later on, 40s and 50s, 60s, you have the bolero exploding in Cuba, Puerto Rico, Colombia. It's like, whoa, hey, let's incorporate that with the mariachi. And then artists like Javier Solís, Pedro Infante, Jorge Negrete, then they started singing boleros. And now, like, from just 3 chords being played constantly, now in a song, now you have this, you know, almost jazz-like approach to mariachi. And then you have Venezuelan music, the most famous song that mariachis play, La Bikina. Now that's incorporated in mariachi. Cumbias from Colombia. It just all mixes together. And now today, I mean, we play songs like Can't Take My Eyes Off of You, My Girl, country music, any jazz, Fly Me to the Moon, My Way, George Strait, Garth Brooks, and we play all those songs. You know, we sing all those songs. But again, it's because of the region that we're at. Is it right or wrong? Mariachi just keeps on evolving into this different animal that it was, and it's been evolving for 100 and something years at this point, and it'll keep on evolving. It will keep on evolving. The same thing with the traje de charro. I mean, everybody's mad. The RB, the rebelde people. I don't know if you caught wind of that. So there's a band from RBD named RBD that my generation used to see that novela It's kind of like a euphoria.
I remember it as
Yeah.
yeah.
So they're kind of like euphoria type of thing, right? But this band actually tours, and one of the males came out with a hot pink traje, and it was very much adorned, not like a traje de charro. I thought it was cool because it's his take on it. People were mad about that. People are mad about Majo Aguilar. Also, she's one of the artists that I've accompanied with Mariachi Real del Valle. She wears pants, but she wears it like the way she wants it. So it's not. It doesn't bother me that that men and women wear the suit in such a way that is not traditional. I think that's great. But the machismo of the traditionalists tend to come out. Yeah. And that's gonna be the hurdle for it all.
Cool. Is there anything else you would like to say, or?
Yes. I'm happy that mariachi is where it's at. That it's being brought into the theater, being used as the music for a play, like the play that Paquito Novelito at Scottish Rite. And this next thing that's happening at Austin Opera, El Cruzar la Cara de la Luna, that they're having the Armonía section being accompanied by the Austin Symphony Orchestra, and being a part of that and being able to sing with that is just is a blessing, so something that I never thought would be possible in 1990 when I first picked up my Vihuela in 1994. I didn't think any of that would be possible, that you would see mariachi or conjunto music in a play. Or, I'm sorry, also Veracruz, jarocho music in a play. That's crazy. Yeah. And then an opera in mariachi. 1994, Julian would have said, no, that's not going to be possible. But it's because of people who have a vision, who think further out than the tradition. And that's why it'll continue to grow. I hope that there's more operas being written, more plays involving mariachi, more plays involving conjunto, jarocho music, just further continuing the Mexican style of music, of traditional folk music.
Cool, thank you.
You're welcome.